We are live.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Love it. This is what I've been waiting for all day, all week.
Class, mate, class. Yes, so here we go, guys. Absolutely buzzing to have Colin on the show tonight, but we'll get to him in a minute. Just waiting for a few of you guys to jump on and say hello. Say hello. Yes, we have action. People jumping on. As you're jumping on, guys, boom, drop a wee comment in the comments. Drop a wee comment in the comments. Say hello.
Comment in the comments.
Follow Colin. If you know Colin, give him a shout out. And any questions that you've got as we're going through the show, anything that's interesting and intriguing, I might pull it and drop it in and see how we get on. So, guys, as you're jumping on, as I say, drop a comment, hit that share button, get Colin's story out there to as many people as possible. Not just his personal story, but what he's got to talk about tonight is absolute class. So, here we go. Mr. Colin Stevenson, in Living Like Glasgow. How you doing, my man?
Hello there. I'm actually really good, and thank you for having me on, because it's usually me that comes on to ask other people their stories and talk to them about how they can improve their life. Tonight is the first time that I can remember that somebody's asked me my story. Where did this guy come from? What does he do? And I'm forever grateful for that. And it's going live, and you've offered me to come onto this slot in your show, and I genuinely am grateful for that.
No, mate, yeah, thank you for coming on. But yeah, the thing is I'm just getting a wee bit of feedback on.
Right, hold on.
A wee bit.
Is that better?
Let's see how we're going.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
That's good. So what I was going to talk to you, what you've got to come on and talk about is massive. So we've got to get to the nitty gritty and find out about the story or the man who's going to tell with the goodies.
Yeah. So, well, it all started off, I lived a pretty normal life. I was eldest out of 5 boys. Grew up in Newton Mearns in Glasgow, and we just lived a kind of very, very kind of average life, good family life, good close-knit family growing up. And then I got older, and then once I got older, life started happening, and this is what people aren't ready for, right? The kids are not prepared for life actually happening to them, because our parents are only learning from what they knew and then what they were taught, and going back and back. So when life actually happens, we don't actually ask ourselves, where am I going, what am I doing? Everything's trial and error. And I made a lot of errors and I did a lot of trials. But again, I can laugh about it now, because because I wanted to talk about mental health tonight, and I'll incorporate it into my story as well, because people have got to realise that not everybody needs a university degree to be able to, to be able to give people help or to help them understand themselves. Some people go through a lifetime of hardships that they create themselves. It's through choices and these type of things, which I know that I've made a few to get me where I am today. But I'm grateful for them. I wasn't grateful at the time because I didn't have the outlook as to how to create or to learn from it. But now that I've learned, I'm more than happy with who I've become and why I had to go through what I went through. So as I got older, I started performing. I started dancing. I started doing a bit of compere. I started, doing a bit of acting, just very low level acting. There was never any feature films or anything like that. And I literally just started living my life by this ego, by this person that I was creating on the stage. Now, some people might think of that as you didn't get enough love as a child, but what I will say is my mum gave us as much love as she could, myself and my 4 brothers, so I could never fault that. So I don't believe it was from where that standpoint from, but when you're one of 5 children and each child's an individual, yep. I believe that's maybe where it came from, because I wanted to be the eldest, and maybe because the other 4 came, I didn't have it that way. So it wasn't like it was a purpose thing. It was more of an internal thing. So what I didn't realise when I was younger at all, but when I got older, I knew there was something missing. And this came back in from the performing side of things, and being able to get people shouting your name or giving you a high five for these type of things. And I was like, this is so cool. So for a lot of years, about a decade, I allowed it to take the better of me. I lived the life of party, drink, recreational fun, we'll call it. And these type of things. And it became difficult, and I never knew what was so difficult. I never knew why am I getting everything that I feel that I desired, but I still don't feel fulfilled, So it didn't matter how much money I had, what kind of woman I had, if I had any, if I had lots. None of this mattered because there was no actual gain. So you were always pressing and pushing for things. So then,
do you feel you were attaching yourself to that persona as such?
Yes, absolutely. And people do this on a daily basis. So as much as that was me doing that and performing and being a certain persona, it came over me. So whenever I had to feel myself in a situation, it was difficult to differentiate between the two of them. And this is where I think people feel in life. And this is why I brought up the subject, because so many people are living a dual life, who they want to be and who they really are. And this is so difficult because when you're living who you are, you'll never feel as if you've not got enough. You'll never feel that, you need to strive for more. You will just flow. But while you're always striving for that bit more or going against the grain with your own unique self, what's actually happening is you're losing energy. You're tiring yourself out. And the trial and error and the constant push is allowing you to feel low rather than the things that are actually happening. Now, that puts me up to my next point. While you're trying to be somebody you're not, or you're trying to live a life that wasn't made for you, what we actually do is we start to look at the things that are going wrong through our choices. Now, I've made a lot of wrong choices in my life. Some of the wrong choices, some good came out of it, but it was still the wrong choice. And I've got to think to myself back, why did I make that choice? Was it something that I was led to do? Was it something I had to do at the time, And these different things, again, it takes an adult, and it doesn't matter how old we get. It takes us being an adult to say, do you know what? That wasn't all them that did that. Maybe that was something to do with me. And once you start to look at these kind of things differently, we start to look at ourselves. Now, after the performing, I joined the army, and I was up near your neck of the woods. I was based in Lookers. And
across the bridge.
That's it, yeah, I was not far from you at all, and I was in the army for just over 2.5 years. Did I take the army to escape? No. I took the army to give myself enough solitary because I knew that I was going to be older. I was nearly 31, and I knew that solitary would allow me to lose that ego, that face, that one that everyone thought they knew that wasn't me. It gave me enough time and enough space to be able to create and remember who I was again. And that was a turning point. But because I was going through all these realizations and the army wanted so much from me, it's a very demanding job. And it wasn't something that fitted with my unique self, hence why I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Did you know that when you were going to the army, or is it only then now that you look back that you think, that's what I was doing?
It was only when I went in and I got halfway through, just over the 2.5 years, that I realised, because I wondered why I was so unhappy. I got rid of the life that I was not enjoying because I was being somebody else. I've come here to be on my own and be myself. And then I realised, I was like, I'm actually doing this, and it's actually bringing up all these realizations. So the job didn't fit, the company didn't fit, the realizations came at me hard and fast. So it was like this almost, people call it a spiritual awakening. I call it an inside awakening. It's me being open to more and understanding more about me. So and I was going through a couple of different things through life with family and stuff at the time as well. So everything started getting on top of me, and everyone saw it. That every guy in the regiment, my family, my friends, my partner at the time, everybody saw me kind of breaking away and fading away. And it was difficult for them because they can't help me. Nobody could have helped me apart from me. And this is where we have the choice. We have the choice of literally going in and changing us. Don't try and change the world about you. Don't try and blame all these people that have done things to you, because you chose that path to be on and meet these people yourself. So somewhere down the line, you made a choice to find out where you are. And this for me was so difficult, because I actually realised that I was a lot of the problems in my life. Now, regardless of what some people might say, I was never a bad person. I never went out. My intention was never to hurt people. I was on a course of self-destruct, and I was in a course of self-sabotage, and I was in a course of, really putting myself out there in the firing line in a lot of places, and using my stubbornness and using my, my feelings getting the better of me to allow things to get significantly worse. Now, when we do these things, other people do get hurt. Now, when people realise, and again, this will be for many people watching, when people say, you hurt me, if the intention is to hurt somebody, that's definitely one thing. My intention was never to hurt anybody. My intention was more to hurt myself, because I was unhappy at the choices I made in life. So we hear about...
What type of things were you meaning, Colin?
Like arguing with people for argument's sake, taking things so sensitively, and taking things the wrong way without asking questions, without understanding, making things up in my own head with the anxious thoughts, giving myself no drive, motivation, or self-belief. All the things that people are scared to come out and talk about, because I was scared. All I wanted was to be happy. And at the time, all I wanted to do was impress people and allow them to feel me, but it wasn't the real me. So no wonder they didn't want me, or they didn't like me, or whatever, because the person that I thought they were wanting me to be, I wasn't. And I was like, why is this not working out? So it wasn't in the army that this actually started kind of coming about. So I think it was a year before I left, and things had got really, really bad. And thinking back now, it's a memory for me. But if I was to put myself back in that position, I felt terrible, like beyond terrible. And I'm sitting smiling talking about it now, because it was significantly bad. And the smile just now is just representing myself, that I got myself out of it. I didn't get help. I didn't have anybody else to pull me out. Nobody gave me anything. I literally just had to take time for me. And what I started doing, I started going to a meditation class in Glasgow on a Thursday night. Now, we know what the army stands for, and it's not meditation, peace, love, and happiness, right? And for me to turn around and say this to any of these people, I'm going to a meditation group, would have made my life even worse. So I had to pretend I had a fancy piece that I was going to see every Thursday for the majority of the night, because it's 2 hours drive from Lucas to Glasgow, an hour and a half in the meditation group, and then 2.5 hours back. So again, not only am I living the life that is meant to be mine, the life in the army, I'm now pretending, that I'm sneaking off and I'm having to grow in this certain way. So again, I made it harder for myself again. Now, thankfully, I managed to get out early, and things happened. I got injured in the army through the boxing. I had my first boxing match, and I won't go into the ins and out of what I believe to be the results or anything, but
did it go to the scorecards?
It did. It was a split decision. And it turns out that the rules of boxing is that you've got to cover your face with your hands to protect your nose. Right? So I was never much of a fighter, right, to be honest, but I was not bad at the boxing, but I was too much of an aggressor, which was again, if I'm going to go back into boxing again, and I'm going to use my head rather than what I've got behind the fist, Right. But I lost, my nose got broken in the ring, and then they said, right, we're going to call it. I said, no. I said, just snap it back in, get me back out for round 3. I don't want to lose this. I promised my son the belt. I said, I'm going to bring this belt home to you. And he went, okay. So he snapped it back in. It was excruciating. And then after it, I came out and my nose was like, well, you can still see it. It's still goosed. And I came back into the ring. I went round the 3rd round. We did it. I came runner up. Fair enough. I'm not a sore loser. Best man won. Whatever. So we got out, but what happened was I started getting these sore heads, and I started getting these things kind of going wrong, and I was like passing out, and I was like, what's going on? So it turns out I had severe concussion because I hadn't been covering my face, and because I was always the aggressor, I was pushing forward into the punches rather than, expecting, trying to dodge. So I was like running towards these fists, and I'm like, cool, I'm going to get you, which is the wrong thing to do. But the first time you're in a ring, you're not thinking about your training. You're thinking about, I just need to win. I need to win. And again, this was another life lesson. So what happened was I lost my taste and smell functions through the army, and through this boxing match, through my injuries, I was in and out of hospital. So to add to the wrong decisions, to add to the wrong environment, to add to me kind of going to meditation groups and hiding that, I've now got this on my conscience. And I was like, I can't take any more of this. But when I was going to these meditation groups, they were telling me that life will only throw at you what you can handle. Now that to me was almost like a turning point in when you've got a Buddhist sitting telling you that. I mean, I'm not religious, so I'm not for one or the other, but I do believe in the higher, greater God. There's something there that's bigger than us that is connected, and these people telling me that once you learn the lesson, then everything becomes clear, and I'm like, why did this happen? Why did that happen? Why did these? And I'm sitting looking for lessons, but again, I'm not letting go of my anger towards it. I'm not letting things go. I was still holding this so tight. So it ended up, I managed through my injuries, and the way my mental state was, I got out of the army because it wasn't particularly clever due to, again, choices. I'll keep reiterating this because everything's a choice.
Why did you, and see, just jumping back, why did you take up the boxing?
I think it was more to prove to myself that I could do it, because it's all right going out and getting a fight in the street or whatever, but to stand toe to toe with another person in a ring, knowing that you're going to get hurt and you're not, there's no real aggression there. It's more about skill, and I felt it took a man to do that. So it was me proving myself to me rather than to the other guys or girls in the army. It was me saying, right, you're strong enough to do this, because as much as I was always good with my mouth, and I did have maybe altercations throughout my life, there wasn't that many, because I could always talk myself out of it. Regardless of how drunk I was or how many people were involved, I would always be, how you doing, bad? Don't worry about it, man, it's cool. I thought, sometime it's going to be the case where I'm not going to be able to get myself out of a situation, and you are either going to have to be battered or batter somebody else. And it was more of a self-defense thing. So when I got in, I did it. And all the guys that were there were younger than me and are a lot more experienced. So I took a couple of downs, and I got taken to, I can't remember the name of the cage fighting boxing gym in Dundee. There was some world champion guy, I can't remember his name.
Shooters. Is it Shooters?
No, it's got an octagon in it. I can't remember, but the guy's really well known in Dundee. He's worldwide. And we get taken into his gym with real fighters this night. And I was like, right, cool, let's go.
Mark Navarro?
That's the one. I was taken into Mark's gym. I was taken into Navarro's gym. The one with the pit bull on it, isn't it?
Yep.
So I was taken into Mark's gym, and Mark was a great guy to me. He was nice. He helped me with my training. The guys in there helped me. But this one night they went, fling the old man in with him. He's fight ready. So this guy, they were doing the white collar stuff. And they were like, just throw him in. So I was like, I'll never forget it. And I was in and I was going. So I got the guy, he had a full face guard on. And I got him a couple of sore ones and his nose had burst. And I was like, yeah, I'm getting there. But his strength, he was fight ready, but I was kind of novice, very novice. And I'll never forget, he just clipped me, an absolute cracker. And I just remember my eyes rolling into the back of my head, and Mark and another couple of my coaches were like, oh, there he goes, oh, and I grabbed onto the side and I was like, that's enough, cool, I'm out, right? That made me realise that I had to be so that was a lesson in itself. So then I get back in and I started working on the feet and the head movement and stuff. And again, it was more to make me feel more confident in myself rather than the mask that I put on. And thank you for asking that question, because the mask that I put on to get me out of situations wasn't me, right?
Yep.
I genuinely am a lover, not a fighter. And I don't care who thinks they can batter me anymore. I don't care who's the big tough guy. Because you know what? See, in behind that hard exterior, we've all got a heart. Whether we choose to use it or not is a different story. And I chose not to use mine for a long time, which starts to kind of bring me onto the story to where I am now. So when I got out, things were difficult because I still had to find my feet when I came back out. So I wasn't pushing for the right types of jobs or these type of things. So what I started doing was I went and got my Reiki qualification, and that was where it all started. Got my Reiki qualification and really started kind of working on myself and understanding energies, feelings, and I was like, wow, this stuff's actually real. I was like, I can't believe it, because, you know, we take for granted spooky folk, or we take for granted, you know, look at the state of them, loony, or I've been called all the names as well. And I've got a lot of people that know me from my past, and they're like, how can you go from that guy to that guy? And I'm like, because I'm now being me. So I went through that, and then while I was learning that, I started helping. It was in a local women's gym in Kirkintilloch called Misfit. I started in there, and that was where I started with these working with the women. And you know, it wasn't life changing money. It wasn't anything to do with. I wasn't really in a living from it. It was more to do with experiencing and helping it and learning from them and feeling things. So then I went to a spooky person myself. I call them spooky people. So a tarot reader and a medium. She was absolutely amazing. Her name was Elaine. She's from Bells Hill. And when I went in, she went, oh, you've got something about you. And I was like, all right, okay. And you know, most readers or most mediums always say generalized things. So I was like, oh, great, thank you. Then she started getting into this, and I was like, wow, she does know. I was like, this is amazing, because I'm quite open-minded with things. And she says, what happens with your cards? I said, oh, I'm trying to learn them, but I said, I'm finding it really, really difficult because the books, they don't resonate with me, so I can't learn. So I'm not really, she says, you don't need them. She said, you can do them already. She said, you've got a connection. And I was like, oh, okay. So when I went back into Misfit, it was a couple of weeks later, the girls that I was doing Reiki for, I says, do you mind if I give you some cards? I said, there's no charge for them or anything. I just want to double check. Yeah, cool. So bang, bang, bang. I started, and they were like, oh my God, how do you know? And I was like, very funny, very funny. And they were like, honestly, you're telling me the truth here. How do you know? I said, I don't know. I said, I'm just reading what's on the cards. And they're like, that's amazing. So this is the point where my confidence started building. And I started, you know, kind of doing it, again, very small scale, short readings for people just to gain my practice. Yep. And I started meeting all these people on Instagram, right? It's like, wow, I'm actually opening up to all these energies and these people, and I'm law of attraction. I'm bringing these people in. So by this time, you know what they say, that the sunrise. So it was, the sun had just started to rise in my life as such, and it was hiding. So there was still dark there. There was still stuff that I was working through. There was still stuff that I was doing, and then the sun gradually started coming up, and I was like, wow, life isn't as bad as what we think. We just need to do what we're meant to be doing in order to gain that energy to move forward. And I was like, this is amazing. So
I think, Colin, I think that could you hear us? I think that's refreshing what you just said there as well. When people would be like, how could you have been that guy and now you're that guy? Because here, I think a lot of people have battles with themselves daily who are this guy but really want to be that guy, and they didn't make the move. They didn't go for it. And it causes all this kind of strife and struggle going on inside, which again comes out in different ways. So by you just making that step, making that jump, and that alone is.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, it's the fear of me doing that, and the fear of me spiritually or whatever it is that I call myself, coming out to say to people, this is what I do now. I knew there was going to be judgment. I knew there was going to be laughs. I knew that people were going to be slagging me off and talking about me. And I'm talking about family as well. Oh, he's a crackpot. I'm worried about his mental health. I've probably never been more mentally sound than what I am just now, or coming towards. And I was like, cool. So then I started realising more. I started being more aware of life, more switched on. that's not right, that's not right. Looking at the bigger picture and dissecting things and going, that's not right, that's not right. So again, some conspiracy theories were good fun at the time. I've kind of thrown them out, but there's still things going on in life that they're told a conspiracy that is real, right? In my belief. And I won't go into them tonight. That's another story.
Agreed.
So what happened was I started getting into looking at the way people are together. So I was looking at I started looking at my experiences and how, because I was told to learn and grow from them. So I started looking at the workplace, Colin the car salesman, Colin the soldier. How can this be happening? How can one person tell all these people to do something their way when everyone's different? So I started trying to understand the schematics behind people and their psychology without going through psychology courses or anything. I started I was like almost energetically jumping into the truth. And I was like, wow, that totally sits well with me. So I started trying to go into corporate business, and I learned myself to the DISC profiling system. So it's personality profiling, because the way that I was taught the profiling was, it was one way, and it was, for me, I was looking at things differently. So I think people should be balanced, and when they get extra traits and behaviours, this is where they're off balance. So this is the way that I looked at it. So I was like, I could really help people in work, in corporate. And I spent a year of literally no money, right? No money trying to take this business off. I was speaking to the top dogs in the government healthcare, this top people in all over healthcare in the UK and Europe, Ireland, talking to them about how they're asking all these care staff and putting all the work onto them, and they're doing all these things to them, and they're not understanding the staff. And then they wonder why the staff are losing energy and becoming unhappy, coming off work. You know, that they're not taking the time. So I was offering the kind of DISC system and to bring the teams together and to create a better atmosphere. Do you know, every single person shut me out. Every single person. The ones that wanted to know, and then shut me down at the last minute. And I'm not going to give names because I don't like to do that, because it will cause all sorts of bother on the internet. But there was one person that was very high up, okay, in a governing body, okay, and I'm not going to tell you what country either because I know who it is, told me, if we fix this, it means we've been doing it wrong for 40 years. What you're saying is right, but if we fix it now, it means we've been doing it wrong. So we're going to need to deal with the hand we've got and try and make it better gradually. I says, but I can fix this now, and I can gain a team, and I can teach it all. And I'm sorry, it's not what we're going to do, but thank you very much for your time. I says, no problem. So I was like, wow, this is all, it's not going well. So again, struggling financially, struggling with literally no money, and, you know, trying to go through. But all this was learning, all this was journey. This is the main turning point before we get into talking about other people's mental health, right? I was on LinkedIn, and I am called a thing called a truth savant, which means I see, feel, believe, understand the truth in a situation without having to ask questions. And it's like I can see it, and it's not because of judgment, it's because of a knowing type thing. And this, I put an article out. So my articles that I was writing to try and help folk in the workplace and stuff, nobody was really interested, maybe getting 30 likes and a couple of comments. And I was like, cool. But it wasn't to gain a following. But then I created this article, the difference between a leader and a parent, right? Parents lead their children, leaders lead the workplace. Either way, it's putting one person in charge of another person's life, taking away their unique self and not allowing to go on. Now, this will probably resonate with a lot of people listening. Doesn't matter if we are in an office, if we're on a football pitch, if we're in a care home, if we're anywhere. What we're doing by leading is we are telling other people what to do. So we're asking them to be us if we're a leader. We're asking them to be us and to do what we say, to do what we do, which is going to cause mental health to diminish within the people. You know, the backbone of the company or whatever. We need the workers. Managers and leaders are few and far between, good ones, but they're also very replaceable. If you've got a whole team that are being diminished by their manager, what's actually happening is they're losing business, that they're not gaining any more business, that there's conflict, all these things, it just becomes poor. So with this article, I think I got like 9,000 views on it and like, I don't know, thousands of comments. And I was like, oh my goodness, I've said something here, I've touched on something, somebody's listening. So this guy, out of the blue, never met him in my life, John Lenhart from America. He's from Wisconsin. He's a chemical engineer PhD and a mechanical engineer PhD, and he's been a brain scientist for 25 years. So the guy's got a decent amount of credibility behind him. So he asked me the definition of what I just said of leader. And I gave him my definition, which he didn't agree with. But because I gave him the definition, he sent me a message and said, you're the first guy in almost a year to answer my question. And I went, wow, that's cool. So again, John he's not one of these look at me type. He only had I think he had about 75 followers on Instagram, on LinkedIn. And I was like, well, I want to talk to this guy. I want to find out why he feels this. So we spoke. And then he introduced me to Flowcess. And this was how people find their unique self.
So, Flowcess. All right.
Yes.
Because this is the bit I'm waiting for. All right. This is an intriguing bit.
Yeah.
Flowcess.
So this
go for it. What is it?
This was my life-changing, this was my epiphany, my life-changing moment, my absolute everything that's brought me to where I am today. So I've been learning from John for the last 14 months. We've actually created a video section on YouTube. We've got about 40 videos to help people with their mental health. It's called Health, Happiness and Flow. If anyone wants to check it on YouTube, because it's all different subjects, from racism through to happiness, through to depression, through to conflict. It's all different things. And what he started speaking to me about was what I was trying to portray. And this was the personality profiling. And I said, I understand where you're coming from. I look at things differently. When I see a profile, I see this. And he said, that's very interesting because you see almost like what they're off balance with. He said, how would you like to know your unique self? He said, who are you? And we've heard this question a lot of times. Who are you? I'm an engineer. I'm an ice cream van driver. You can be, no, who are you? Well, I'm a father, I'm a husband, no, who are you? I'm Colin. Okay, well, who's Colin? You don't know where to go with that. And it almost feels, have you ever seen Anger Management by Adam Sandler? And he goes, right, and they go, who are you? And he starts his foot tapping and starts going mad, right? It felt, and I was like, wow. So he said, I want you to answer these questions. So he sent me a link to what he had created. I'll talk about that in a second. And I read it, I watched a 2-minute video, read a scenario of 3/4 of a page, and then answered questions based on my perception of the scenario, which then gave me my unique self. Now, I'm a compassion server. That is me. Colin is a compassion server. And I'm one of the only people in the world that can answer that unless they've done this test, right? Now, compassion for me, and I can talk about everyone else's another time, but compassion, we have our why and we have our how. My why is compassion. So why am I here? What do people see? I need to bear people's pain to then serve them with my server. So I will serve them based on how they want to be served. So when I learned this about me, I was like, that is me totally. And he's like, you're a bit of a chameleon. Yep.
So how did we get to that? How did he find out that you were a compassion server?
Because John created Flowcess. He had this available for 20 years, and he was sworn to secrecy by the government in America that he wasn't allowed to bring out this information. Now, whether people realize it or not, generationally, we're societally programmed. Okay? The program in society changes. That's why it's so difficult for my grands, bless her, she just passed, but my grand's era, to resonate with the girls now. Back then it was ankle-length skirts, flowers in their hair, going to the dancing. They were courted going to the dancing. Now people feel it's liberating to take most of their clothes off on the internet. Now, I'm not saying that these people are wrong for doing it. I'm just saying that that's the way society has programmed them to do so. And this is why the two generations can't understand each other, because there's something higher promoting behavioural changes onto masses of people. Now, that's not a conspiracy, that's real. So when John had been through it, he had told me all about this and how he had actually got the only model in the whole world. Now, psychology is mostly based on theory, okay? All these CBT, NLP, all these different things are all based in theory. They've all come from the one system through the universities, channeled through people back onto the other people, you know, the people that have not got university degrees. Now, John had been to university, done all this, but he'd done all this research for so long, and he created the only, and I'll repeat that, the only model for the mind and brain in the world. Now, psychologists are very, very talented and knowledgeable people. They have only got stages 3 to 10 out of a scale of 1 to 10. So what John has got is numbers 1 and 2. So this is to complete the whole cycle. So psychologists can still be psychologists and know what they're doing, but because they'll understand the cause and the uniqueness of everything that's happened, they'll be able to fix people properly. Unless you know the cause for something, you can't fix it. Okay? I've got a leak coming through my ceiling. Okay, I patch the ceiling over. I've not fixed the cause, right? I've fixed the leak, I've fixed the roof, but I've not fixed the cause. I need to take that away and start to look underneath to find out. And this is what we're not able to do through what we're taught through universities and colleges. So when John started telling me this, I mean, I'm not joking, I nearly fell off my chair, like mind blown. And I was like, so if I start being my unique self, not who I think I am, if I start being my unique self, and bear in mind, after the conversation you and I have just had, I had already started the process, right? So when he gave me this information, it was almost like putting the words to what I knew that I had to do. And I was like, wow. So then he said, I would like to offer you my course for free. He said, I charge $1,500 for it. He says, I'm going to give it to you for free because you're in the position where you've worked on yourself, you understand yourself enough, but what I can do is give you the words and how to use that to better others. Now, I've never been given anything so great. I've never been so grateful for being given anything in my life. And I was like, no, thank you. No, thank you. He says, for you to say no, thank you means you don't feel that you deserve it. You don't realise how far on you are in your life now. Now, bear in mind, this is about 1.5 years now since I'd left the army. So what I had done 1.5 years through my meditation, my Reiki, my cards, and these type of things, and certain plant medicine ceremonies that we can talk about as well. I had done a lot of work and I'd done a lot of things where I was like, do you know what? You're absolutely right. Yes, please, I'll take it. So I took it and I learned it and I learned it and I learned it. And then we started almost like conspiring. So the way that it works with the unconscious brain. So the conscious brain is 10%. The unconscious brain is 90%. Now, for people if your whole brain is the car, the 90% of your brain is the engine, it's the exhaust system, it's the electrics. The 10%, your conscious brain, is only the steering wheel and the accelerator and brake. So when people are living their life in their conscious brain, not living to who they are in their unique brain, what they're actually doing is burning themselves out, making wrong decisions like I've just spoken about. And many of us do it, you know, and there might be another time, I'm not going to say that I'm perfect, because there will be times I will allow my animal side to come out and make the wrong decision on things, but that's okay, that's being human. The next stage after that is realising I've done it before destroying myself for doing it. So
if I put myself into the 10% living, where in the past, it's not happened so much recently, but in the past where I'm thinking like doing 101 things at once. All right, anxiety levels are through the roof. As you're saying, burning, like total running on what you think is like you're flying, but really it's just you're being pulled through by adrenaline as such. And then you didn't realise the stress levels are going up, and then eventually it comes to one Friday night and you go, let's go blow it.
Yeah. So what comes up must come down. So unless we can keep ourselves on this steady flow. So what happened was I started learning this about me and using me onto people, asking people when I felt that I wasn't understanding them rather than being sensitive. I started asking questions. What do you mean by that? What's your intention? Would you like to be spoken to like that? And just rather than acting out, I started actually making unconscious but conscious decisions. Now, your unconscious and your conscious brain, for your conscious brain to fight your unconscious brain, that's like putting Dean Wallace on a football pitch against a whole football team of guys or girls, doesn't matter, right? And expecting you to win yourself. It's not going to happen. Safety and as numbers, and they're always going to win. So when I realised that I was doing this with my brain and like 99% of people are doing it with their brain, I was like, I can start to help people with this. I can really start to kind of come in, and this is me now coming out this dark tunnel that I've been talking about, where I've been down, and getting me onto the path where I am now, and what I'm going to discuss and how people can change, and I'll give them tips to help themselves as well. So what I'm able to do now is can I go into people's uniqueness very, very quickly and understand with the way that they are, the way that they feel, and the way that they do. And with my server, I can be a teacher, I can be an administrator, I can put people in the right places, I can be an exhorter, like just now I'm talking about me, which is not very often. I can be a server where I need to fulfill a need. You know, I can go through these intangible drivers, and this is what I want to talk about next, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Our intangible drivers, the in our body, it's the thing that we can't touch, the thing that we don't consciously know. It's our unconscious. You know, when you feed your unconscious and grow it, this is where life starts to change. So compassion server is my uniqueness, and it's also how I gain energy. Now, depression, okay, living in the past, thinking about things that have happened to you, not allowing yourself to grow from it, learn from it. That's what I believe to be depression is. Anxiety, you touched on there, is overthinking. Okay, thinking about too many things and thinking too far ahead and not being present. Okay, so if you're too much one way or you're too much the other way, you're not physically present, which is not allowing you to feel that flow. Now, going forward with talking about the way that we gain energy. So if we're losing energy, we're going to feel depressed. We're going to have depressive symptoms. If we gain energy, we're going to feel better. We're going to be happy. We're going to be in flow. Okay? Now, people will say, I don't understand how to do this. You first need to understand who your unique self is before we do anything. And I would love to be able to do it with you, and we can even do it after this or over the next few days. I'll send you the uniqueness diagnostic, and then you know, wow, oh my God, this actually works, because that happens all the time and I've never understood it. Because we are so living in the conscious, the unconscious we're not really aware of. So once you realise that about you, you can then start to realise about other people as well.
Brilliant. So can I tell you what I do just now that energizes me? Because I believe that when I'm in the zone, as I call it, it's like I feel like I'm in a flow. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm in a flow. But a lot of the time I could I need to work to get there. Sometimes I could and the longer the more days that I'm in the zone, one day off I could get back in quickly. A couple of days off, it takes you a bit longer. You start hitting a week, more than a week, it takes I'm dragging my feet again. It feels like you're starting to scratch. But it's like all the ducks have got to line up for me. My training, my eating good, my drinking the water, what I'm listening to or what I'm reading on a daily basis. Jotting down my gratitudes every day. I've got a wee list of 5 things. And it's really as the days progress and the momentum builds that I start to feel, do you know what I mean? Things start to, but a lot of the time it does feel that it's a grind. It's a grind. And I touched on it before, people always say, oh, you're always so positive, you're always so happy, you're always buzzing. And it isn't like that all the time. It isn't. And if we were like that all the time, that you would probably be west. You know, it's just, that's not healthy either. But I feel that I need to grind.
That's a quick question. I know we're on live and I know it's quite personal, but can I ask you why that would be unhealthy for you to be happy all the time? Why would that be?
Maybe not happy all the time, but just to be like so high. Just because, just feel that you've got to appreciate the struggles and the battles and being in the trenches at times to appreciate being up there as well. And it's, as they say, life is a roller coaster. Don't get us wrong, I want to hear more flow state as you're saying, 100%. But I would probably feel a wee bit worried if I was like that all the time.
Right, okay. So I'm not going to counteract what you've just said, because I believe what you've just said will resonate with the majority of people that'll ever watch this and the majority of people in the Western world, okay?
Yep.
And I am totally with you all, because that's the way we've been programmed. Getting told that life's a roller coaster means it has up and downs. We get it. It doesn't ever tell us that we can get off the roller coaster and we don't need to ride it. We can just float. Now, the other thing that you mentioned there was, once you get a certain structure, people always talk about structure. They talk about creating new habits. They create about this. Now, what I believe in, people start saying, if I don't get to the gym, I become unhappy. When I don't get to exert this energy into something, I don't become happy. So I believe the gym and these things that you're talking about, the reading things all the time and constantly working, are just very similar to being able to go out and getting drunk and sticking a note up your nose and going for it. Now, the reason that I say this, I'll completely turn around and I will give you a reason for this, because people will be going, what? How can going to the gym be taking drugs? Because it's our way out of how we're meant to be feeling, right? It's our way out of, if I stay here for long enough, I'm going to create so much tension in my own head that what's going to happen is I'm going to explode, right? And we're scared of that explosion. So what we do is we focus on other things. So if you were to let that go, say for 2 weeks, right? That's the point where you said you struggle after maybe 3 days. If you struggle with that after 2 weeks, what's actually going to happen is that's the point where you'll be reaching for the bottle of Buckfast, or you'll be reaching, do you know what I mean? Super lager or dragon soup.
Yeah, pink gin and Dundee, boy.
Oh, you're posh, right? You're posh. When we take ourselves out of this strict structure, this strict, thing that we've created to keep us away from being wrong, we're still not living in that flow state. It feels like flow because you told your brain, when I do this, it makes me feel good. So I'll keep doing this, right? Yep. All it takes is for one disaster to come into your life and it throws you right off course. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I probably do. But it's like, I feel good at the time when I'm training but it sort of affects the rest of my day as well. It's got that positive, the whole positive boost for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Now, if I was to ask you, if you could literally make your life better by having better conversations with people, how would you think that would be?
I think it would be good.
Right, okay. So, because when we gain energy, most of our energy comes from our interactions with people. Our energy comes from people saying they like us, don't like us, you're doing well, or I like what you've got there, that gives us energy. But when we're able to give them back what they want, it creates more of an energy between the people. And this is where I believe that communication is stopping the world from being happy, because everything's lack of. Okay. Now, if you can imagine, let me think of what I want to say here. So, if you can imagine, you go through life and you're in a relationship. We'll talk about being in a relationship, and you and your partner get on fine. You have a decent sex life. You've got everything that you want financially and whatever, but you don't know each other's uniqueness. You will talk to that partner the way that you think you should be spoken to, right? That partner will speak to you the way they think they should be spoken to, which does not sit right with each of you. Now, we've been told from a young age, and kids still get programmed with it, treat people the way that you want to be treated. Now, that is one of the biggest and worst mistakes that you can possibly make, because what you're actually doing is you're just projecting yourself onto everybody, and if they don't like it, you become upset. So imagine taking the time to find out your partner's uniqueness and saying, wow, that's how they want to be spoken to. You tell them your uniqueness, and then they talk to you the way you want to be spoken to, and we gain energy. I think I've just saved every relationship in literally 2 seconds. So this is what Flowcess does, and this is how it works. So when we gain energy through life, it's not due to having the nicest car, the best body, the strongest muscles, all these different things. It's not about having that. These are all distractions that we are trying to be.
So, Colin, because here we have got a bit of a problem in this day and age with the like or love culture for Instagram and Facebook.
Now, you want me to talk on this?
Well, I'm just because
I can be here all day. What you said is absolutely right. Now, I'm grateful for the people that do want to follow me and listen to me talking. I'm grateful as anything, but if I said something that offended them and they left me, I'm just as grateful, because it means they're not here to cause me problems. So I'm not here for a following in life. I'm not here for people to run about and follow me and listen to me. That's not why I'm here. I'm here through a life of learning and being able to teach what I've learned. And if it resonates with someone, they can grow. We used to pay, as a society, a lot of money for advertising years ago. A lot of money. Now, if you can imagine being on Tiger Tim, that used to be on Clyde One, right, down in Glasgow, and they used to pay him money for promoting products and whatever. They do it in Radio 1, they do it in television. Now they can do the same job with Joe Average, that conforms to society, that looks a certain way, that acts a certain way, and people believe because they're better looking in society standards that they're then able to create more business. So what they're doing is these people think I'm an influencer, I'm awesome, when really what's happening is they're being exploited by the companies, right? And I know that will probably hurt a lot of people sitting watching when they realise it's true. And if they don't realise it's true in their conscious brain, their unconscious is going to hurt them, because that's what's happened. So now that a normal person that's not on television can feel that they are actually making an impact on other people, see the people that are below them that are being influenced, their mental health is depreciating as well, right? They're going, this person's they might not even have a better education or whatever than me, but because they look a certain way, they're better, and I've got to buy this product. So that, again, what I've just opened up is a can of worms. I'm not going to go into too deep because it's another full hour. When people are looking up to other people to strive to be that person, get likes, to get the love, to get all these things, and these dopamine hits that we all go for. What they're actually doing.
It's concerning with the fact that even if they've not got a product to sell, they're just putting a photo up of themselves, and it's like that is a wee bit. It's not even a wee bit of worrying. It's properly worrying. Okay?
It's very.
Because I've got four kids who are coming up, and you're thinking you're trying to educate them on that. It's a whole new life. It's a whole new world that we're living in. and we're just trying to catch up with what's been going on. And it's hard to even explain. It's like, but it's mental. People thrive on it. People thrive on getting them likes and loves. And
but again, when we went to school, and this get taught from a young age, and this is how society changes. So from a young age, you must be similar ages to myself. We'll not disclose our ages, right? But you must be similar ages to me, right?
A couple of years younger. I'm a couple of years younger.
Are you? Right, okay, I apologise, right? I'm actually young. So when we went to school, we got a gold star or a chocolate watch or something for doing good. And that was our gratification. So from a young age, we felt that we had to do something and get praise for that to make us feel good.
Yep. People
are now doing the same. Now, this is just taking me perfectly into the other parts of this, the plant medicine and stuff that I want to speak about. So our brain, 99% of people on this planet are not producing enough serotonin, okay? Due to alcohol, drugs, processed foods, poor mindset, too much cortisol, stress hormone coming into their body, these type of things. So the serotonin receptors are no longer active and working the way that they should, which is not producing long-term happiness, flow and balance in our lives. So everybody's got to be striving for a like, you know, the nicest car, the best shoes, the new hair, you know, spending money on stuff that they don't need to impress people they don't know, to gain likes, you know, this behavior, so that they're chasing the dopamine. Now, I explained to somebody, if you were unwell and you lie in your bed for 2 years, and then somebody says, right, it's time to get up now, you're fine. Are you going to be able to run out the door? No, you're not. Right? It'll be like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory or Willy Wonka. Remember old Grandpa Joe, but he was lying in bed ill for so long and he was all over the place. He's like, oh, it's the same thing, right? What we're doing is we're not able to use these things straight away. Now, through my experience, going back to my experience, people have heard of ayahuasca, and it's a plant medicine that's used in the Amazon jungle. And over here, it's classed as a drug. It's classed as an illegal drug that people aren't allowed to use. And that medical surgeons, medical doctors, whatever you want to talk about, professionals will not bring this into society, because I believe it will actually help people. Okay.
Now, we've got to give a shout. We've got to give a shout out to Cash Khan, by the way.
Absolutely. Cash is an awesome guy.
Cash is actually, he's watching tonight. He's dropped a little comment and.
Oh, awesome! Hey, Cash. Cash is actually out at Rhythmia, staying in Costa Rica on an ayahuasca retreat in the middle of the jungle. If anyone's interested after this conversation to go out and keep Cash company, because he's missing me so much. So I'm only joking, Cash, if you're listening. So what I did was I went through this ayahuasca ceremony, and I'd never done psychedelics or anything when I was younger. I wasn't into these type of things. So to say that it was a profound experience would be an understatement of the lifetime, I think, rather than the day. And what happened was I was able to kind of visualize and see things through the first 3 hours, and it was pretty groovy, listening to like the background frequency music, you know, like Reiki music and stuff like that. And I was like, cool. And then it went away after 3 hours, and I was like, wow, this is awesome. Cool, that's fine. So back in, sat down, opened the curtain, stuck on Still Game. I thought it was back to normal. Half an hour later, bang, this thing hit me. And I was like, what? I've relapsed. Oh my God, that's all I could think, because I thought it had gone. I didn't have experience with it. I didn't know about it. And I went, I've actually relapsed. This is the way I'm going to live my life. And I get really, really scared. And I was like, I can't believe what's actually happening here. So I went through, and I was throwing myself about the bed like Ewan McGregor in Train Spotting. You know, I was like, I can't take any more, get the voices out of my head. And I was like, this is not pleasant. But what actually came through was all my unconscious thoughts, what I was doing wrong, what was causing me pain, what was causing me trouble, how I was causing other people. And all these realizations came in, and I went, oh, do you know what? You're so right. But get out of my head because it's horrible, right? Because I didn't want to myself, and I was like, I know what I've done wrong. I can't change it, but what I can do is I can now stop this to become better, to change other people's lives and to help them. And all these epiphanies and all this magic started happening, and I was like, wow, 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 wow. So literally that was the last time I had a drink. I've not drank alcohol since. I think I've had 2 shandies with dinner or whatever. So I mean, that's not drinking alcohol for me for sake, but I've not been drunk since. As far as I'm believed, I'll never be drunk.
Was that a conscious decision, or was it what you seen while you were?
No.
How did that happen?
It literally just told me you shouldn't be drinking, and I went okay. And then I came out and I just didn't drink again. I didn't have the urge to drink. It was so strange, right? And I was like, the thing that I would always want to do is go and grab a bottle or sip a bottle of whiskey or Jack Daniels or whatever, and sit and get drunk and talk nonsense and feel shit. Excuse my language on the podcast, but feel rubbish for 3-4 days, and I'd be like, so even if I was celebrating and it's a time for joy and celebrations and love and hugs, and I would get drunk and then I would get punished by a hangover for 4 days for being happy. What kind of society is this, right? What is wrong with us? I'm going out to get drunk to punish myself for being happy. Thank you very much, government system that's allowing this to be legalised. But you're not allowing people to realise where they're going wrong, and you're making ayahuasca illegal. And I went, wow. So needless to say, I haven't done ayahuasca again because I got from it once what I needed. And I changed my behaviours. I changed my mindset. I changed everything in that. And it literally allowed me to... The main ingredient in ayahuasca is DMT, dimethyltryptamine. Okay? It's not an addictive. It's a very kind of psychoactive chemical or substance, and it comes into the pineal gland. But DMT, which is in the ayahuasca and on its own, it's the same chemical molecular structure, almost identically to serotonin. Right? Serotonin is this long-term happiness that we've kind of missed out, but I've come back to it, like Billy Connolly. So that's right. So this serotonin that comes from the ayahuasca or the DMT, it sparks these receptors. So these receptors go boom. So yes, you get the mad visuals. Yes, you get the mad realizations. But see, once it all goes away and you go, I'm awake. I know what I need to do. I know what I need to not do. And I know what I consciously like and don't like, and unconsciously. So after that, I found I wasn't chasing anything. I started not chasing this corporate business. I started looking into more holistic ways, and I started getting into this whole process thing more. And I was like, wow. Then I met this other guy at an ayahuasca conference, okay, when I went and I wanted to know about it and where it was in the world, etc. This guy his name's Stephen Crowley, he's from Uddingston, and he started talking about Campbell. And again, this was another turning point in my life. So have you ever heard of Campbell?
Yes.
Right. So Campbell, for anybody that's watching, it's an Amazonian frog secretion. Okay. And it was found by a shaman 2,000 years ago called Kampu. And he drank ayahuasca and went a walk in the forest to save this dying community that were all full of sickness and panema, they call it, and he met the Amazon monkey frog. The Amazon monkey frog told him, take my secretion, put it onto these people and administer it this way, and you will heal everybody. So what it does is your body has got your lymph nodes, your lymphatic system, and your lymphatic system take away poison, they take away, how can I put it? They take away poison, they take away infections, and you hold on, and it secretes through your system, lymphatic system, down through your liver, and then you pass it through your toilet, right? Then it goes away. But over the years, your lymphatic system holds on to different older viruses and things that are there. But if they become upset, they can come back out on you again. So again, we're going back into 2 years here. And I went and met this guy, and I did Cambo, and it was a profound experience. It wasn't visual, it was very internal, and you could feel the waves of kind of cleanse kind of coming over you, and you're very, very sick for the space of maybe 20, 30 minutes. But you're getting all the toxins out your body and stuff. I mean, it's amazing. It's got like 141 different peptides in it. There's stuff that can, I'm not going to tell you what kind of stuff that it can do because I can get into trouble for that, but it can clear up certain illnesses that have been there for, that are terminal. It can take away these illnesses. And all I will explain to people is, you know, that day, and we can talk about it openly, when you go through life, you've got a cloud above your head. And that cloud can be nice and white and fluffy. The sun can be shining through on you. It's great. Then the next day, that cloud turns grey and black, and it rains on you, and it makes you feel totally ill and unhappy, right? I was like, my cloud is gone. My cloud left my body. I no longer had a cloud, and I was like, wow. I had a problem with my stomach. So I'm not going to go into the details, but when I went to the toilet, it wasn't right. It had gone. It literally had gone. I was back, I was healed, and I was like, wow. So between the ayahuasca working on kind of my soul, my unconscious, my brain, and all these things, and producing this serotonin, to this Cambo, cleaning out my body, I have literally not taken a paracetamol since March 2017. Not a paracetamol. And I think I can remember twice of feeling unwell. It lasted less than 24 hours, and I slept it off. Right? Now, I believe that there are many, many, many medicines and plant medicines that we can use that can help our mental health. I don't believe in only solely using them, because then that takes us away from, it's another distraction from who we are and what we should be doing. Yep. But when people are able to use these as well as working and understanding it and putting everything together, it's like you've got all the elements to create this power. So that was the next stage. So this was like my extra awakening. And then I was able, when I was energy healing people, I was able to literally get visualizations when I had my hands on folk. And I was like, who's going the trip up north this week? Who's going to, like me? I said, who's got the kids' bikes? And they're like, oh, that's my two daughters. And I'm like, cool. I said, who's buying the new house? And I started picking up on these things. So again, people write off mediumship. They write off people understanding. Maybe I'm not a medium, maybe I'm not a psychic, maybe I'm just so in flow with my energy that I'm able to pick up on other people's, you know. So rather than give myself that label, rather than give myself that whatever it is, but when I went through this experience and I started doing my cards again, something was telling me that I had to use the process method and this intangible method along with the meanings of the cards that I made up. So I made a thing up called the Truth Tarot. So I had a psychologist, I'm not going to mention her name for intensive purposes, but I had a psychologist that was on it, and she was a great woman, great energy when she came on, and she came on within 5 minutes. I had her energy doing a reading, right? Bang, put the cards out and I had her. She didn't know that I had her until I started speaking, but I knew. And I was able to go into her brain, her unconscious brain, without I don't ask anyone questions. I don't prompt anyone to tell me anything. I don't tell them anything they've already told me. And I was able to go right in. But because I'm not a qualified psychologist, I don't have any rules to play with. So I am able to tell people what's on the cards to help them make their life better. Now, I had a gentleman in tonight, 2 meters distance and all that, obviously. And we sat and we spoke. And he said, there's people that I've spoken to for years, on and off, and these different things. And he said, what you've spoke to me, he said, you've not even asked me anything, and you've got me better than my friends, my family, and everything. I was like, I know. He said, how do you do it? I said, it's the cards. I said, it's that unconscious.
Wait a minute though, Colin. Listen, the first time we ever spoke, we didn't have any cards in, and we had a chat on the phone a few months back, and I said the same thing to you. I was like, wait a minute, man, what's going on? How are you able to read? Well, no, the cards anyway. How were you able to read me? And we were only just chatting on the phone.
And this is where, so because compassion server people, going back to my uniqueness, compassion server people have a sixth sense, right? And this is where they're able to read it, but they need to be in flow with themselves to be able to use it. So rather than me kind of ask myself questions, that's all I put it down to. John Lenhart has told me that this is what I do and how I do it, but I do it unconsciously. So when you're shuffling my cards and I lay them out in front of you, the ones that you've chosen, you've unconsciously, I mean, your unconscious brain doesn't see, doesn't think, it doesn't do anything, it runs. So when you stop shuffling, or you tell me to stop shuffling if it's online, that's your unconscious brain saying stop. Okay. And then I'll turn them over, and my unconscious brain saying that means this, 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 and this, because I'm connected with you. And it's fabulous. And I don't even like using words like fabulous because it's not even a word I would use, but it is.
Fabulous.
It's fabulous. So I'm like, I mean, I don't do all this for money. I don't do things to go out and be rich or to be famous or to do whatever. I do what I do to change people's lives so that they're able to have the tools, the beliefs, and the understanding what it is they're able to do. And this is what's got me to where I am just now. And I don't know how much longer you're wanting to stay on for. But
I'm just going to ask. So I'm struggling, hypothetically, right? It's me. I'm struggling today. What can I do today that's going to put me one step further ahead to feeling better?
Right, okay. So the standard process would be for us to feel unwell, to go to the doctor and say, I'm unhappy. You'll get put on tablets or you'll go to a psychologist, psychiatrist, something like that. And what they'll do is they'll spend so many sessions with you, asking you questions, asking you about your childhood, asking you about your problems, just to gauge how you feel on that situation. Okay? So I get taught a trick from John. If I ask you, how's your marriage? And you say, my marriage is great, thanks very much, that's cool. If I say, how's the kids? And you say, the kids are great, thanks very much. And I say, how's your job? My job's not good because before what happened was X, Y, and Z. So you were talking about present and future with your family. So that means you're good, you're going forward, there's no block there. When you talk about your job, what you've done is you've been back in time, which means something's happened. So then that'll say is what's wrong with your work. So rather than allowing you to come in with the whole telling me your problems, I will say, how's it making you feel? Okay, why do you feel that? So rather than look at the problem, you'll look at your behaviours as to why you're feeling that. I'm able to then take that on, understand it, and then talk forward to you. But again, knowing your uniqueness is even better. If you're able to say, Colin, I am like administrator exhorter, of which I believe that you could be. Administrator likes to move the right people around so that the right job gets done. Exhorter likes to get everyone pumped. Pump. And while they're getting everyone pumped, if it's not met by the other side, what happens is they go, they don't understand me, I don't like this, and they crash, right? That's where I would put you as administrator exhorter, right? I could be completely wrong, but again, that's what I'm feeling. So, again, it's nothing to be ashamed of. Once you embrace that, you understand it, and then you don't crash anymore because you understand why it's happening. So I would always say to somebody, do their uniqueness test, and I'm happy to put it on my page, your page, everybody's page, so that they're able to do it. If they screenshot me their answers, I will be able to send them a link to the videos that go with their uniqueness, where they can sit and understand themselves over the space of an hour. The next thing that I do is that I offer people a reading, right? And this isn't me touting for business or anything, right? I offer people a reading so that rather than me ask you questions where I'm bringing up all your dirt, what I want to do is I want to see your story. Then what I want to do is tell you how you can change your story. So, okay, I see this relationship here. You've got to change your communication, ask more questions. I see that you're stuck in your head and you're worried about money. Take away the money from the subject, because what you need to do is release your thoughts. These type of things, right? This literally comes out. Now, for people themselves, if they want to understand their uniqueness, that is the best thing that they can do to start off, without readings, without, me coming in. Once they understand that, they want to understand their close partners, or the 5 people that they hang about with the most. When you've got the 5 people that you hang about with the most, that's who influences your life. So if you're talking to them and you're expecting them to understand you because you're talking to them the way that you would want to be spoken to, what you're actually doing is you're projecting, and then you get 4 different uniquenesses coming towards you, and you can't handle it, right? So I would always say to someone, find out who you are first. It's 100% foolproof and it's 100% bang on, as long as you answer the questions correctly. Once you're then able to do that, you're able to move on. The next thing I want to talk about is music, because you were talking about that earlier, about what you listen to, and you've got to be careful. Excuse me, music's been changed since 1958 especially. There was some kind of institution of music changed the frequency. So the frequency's off. The universal frequency is 428 hertz. And I'm pretty sure people can not quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure it was changed to 433, which is off balance. So the music that we listen to doesn't allow us to relax. Doesn't matter if you're listening to Justin Bieber or you're listening to heavy metal, dance music, rap music, everything in the frequency is off at 433, which throws the body off balance. Your body is 70% water, which water flows. But if you upset that with putting the wrong frequency in there, okay, and the frequency is a thought, speech, what you're listening to, what you're choosing to, conversation, all these things, what you're watching, this is all frequency that allows your body to come off frequency. If you're able, and I ask everybody that's suffering from depression, from anxiety, or the symptoms anyway, is to change their music for 1 week. And for that 1 week, if they listen to classical for a week, or they listen to Reiki music for a week, whether it's in the workplace, at home, in the car, any time that they feel that they've got to switch off, and they believe that listening to music from their childhood or any of these things, all you're doing is unconsciously creating these emotions and feelings through your body again, but you're not consciously aware of it. So if you feel, you're not allowing yourself to go with it. So I always say for a week, and after a week, if you feel better, which people guaranteed will, if they get into the frequency rather than the words and the subliminal messages, what will happen is they can do it for 2 weeks, and this can be a constant thing. So I do listen to music, but I listen to more frequency-based stuff, Indian flute music, Reiki music, because I'm able to actually think rather than feel things from before, and I'm also able to switch off very easily. Interactions is another massive, massive thing. Yes, asking people questions is the only way you're ever going to understand them. So say for the sake of people at home, you and I are a couple, Dean, right? And I come home from work every night and I say to you A, and then you come back to me and say B, right? We're both extremely predictable. So what's actually happened is when it comes to arguing or it comes to conversation, what you're actually doing is you're reading me before I even say anything, and you're already ready to come back. You're not listening to understand, you're listening to reply. And it comes through habit, right? And this can be broken once we break it. So it's not about changing what you say to me, it's changing what I say to you that's going to change the situation. Because if you say A and I say Y, there's no A and B there. So you'll go, why? I'm just going to try that again. So you'll say A again. I'll say S. And you go, she's again. I don't understand this. Where's this coming from? So what happens is my behaviours are off. So instantaneously you'll feel a bit uptight because it's not working the same as it normally would. But with me creating new habits for me, you're going to have to create new habits for you, which will allow the relationship to be saved, or become better or become more important to each other again. And allowing each other to understand, because a lot of people, and people understand this, if we speak and we say things to each other, that's to trigger. So it's if I feel rubbish and I speak to you, I'm going to project that onto you, which in turn is going to allow you to feel rubbish and then project that back on me. It's a lose-lose situation. If I was to project onto you and you were to say, is there anything I can help you with today? No, why? Well, happy people wouldn't speak to somebody like that, so surely there's something that I can do to make you happy, and then we can have a better conversation. Oh, like, where I come from? What you've just told me is I'm being totally ridiculous and out of order towards you.
Yeah.
Actually say it. People literally really want to protect themselves. And they want to protect themselves with this mask by having to fight back and do these things. Now, if you were to say something to me and I was to say, do you believe that that's an appropriate way to speak to somebody? And I was to turn my back and walk away from you, who's the one that's going to be hurting? Right? Your unconscious brain is going to hammer you. And it's going to hammer you to the extent where you're like, whoa, right, okay, they've just done something bad to me, but your conscious brain is going, they didn't call me a name. They didn't say anything, but I feel hurt. It's because you know that you're doing wrong. We can literally allow people to see what they're doing wrong without telling them. People don't like to be told. They love to be asked. And this is the whole point of it. So communication is a massive thing, and I'm happy to share with people. If they want to message my page or whatever, I'm happy to help them. I would love to come back on another night and actually go through the processes with you. I'm very aware on an hour and 20 minutes. But if everyone listens and they understand...
Mate, there's no time on it. I'm loving this.
I like that. All right, mate, no worries. I'll just keep going. People, going back to the very, very beginning, the hardest thing for people to do, or most people, is to realise the mistakes they made and accept them.
So here's one for you then, Colin, right? Mm-hmm. So when I was about 29, 30, that's when I sort of got my shit together and my life started to change positively, all right? But I went to counselling for 3.5 years, okay? Every week, hour a week, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Like, it was sort of like I was getting... It was therapeutic. It was like therapy. It was therapy, was it? So I enjoyed it. All right. But I didn't think that I was able to. Well, I kind of wasn't. I wasn't able to progress in the way that I wanted to progress. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Still brought so much with. Now, so what's intriguing me now is, and I know we spoke briefly before. So, if I've still got the same harbouring the same feelings, or maybe no feelings, but the same thoughts, how do I move forward with this?
Right, okay, so I'm going to give everybody a piece of homework just now. So take notes, anybody, or remember this. It'll be on the recording at 1 minute, 1 hour 22. What actually happens is the problems and the issues that we have are in our unconscious brain. Okay, our unconscious brain has got every single word that we've ever said, every thought we've ever had, everything that we've ever seen stored in there. It's just that our conscious brain is not powerful enough to get in there and pull it all out. Okay, it's only a small part. Now, if you're waiting until you're triggered before you realise that you've not let go of something, what you're actually doing is you're not acknowledging it. So what happened is, say for talking's sake, there's a song that triggers you every time you listen to it, and you feel this emotion or anger or stress or anxiousness, anything like that, and you know, oh God, that's because of that, because you constantly think about it and you go, that reminds me of them. What you're actually doing is you will physically, as a human being, you'll either fester yourself in that thought and cause yourself to feel depressed, or you will distract yourself from it. When you distract yourself from this, what you're actually doing is you're not accepting it. You're acknowledging it, saying, I don't like this, throwing it back into the unconscious brain, and then moving on with your day, your month, your year, whatever. Now, see the next time that song. Yep.
So how do I find it? How do I find the thing if it's in my subconscious? Because this is me speaking now. So how do I find the thing that if I'm not 100% aware of what it is?
Right, okay, so you can become conscious of the trigger, okay? Yep. You can become conscious of the trigger, and you can try and understand what you were thinking about, feeling, what you were doing at the time, if it reminds you of any kind of traumatic times or times of hurt. Yep. The other thing that I ask people to do is, if you can sit there with a piece of paper, just a small piece, maybe 3 inches by 3 inches squared, if you can sit with this piece of paper blank, and you can think about all the people that have ever hurt you in your life. Now, I'm going right back to childhood bullying, being dumped by your first partner, being abused in some sort of way, any of these things, if you can think of that person's name and you can write that down, what you're doing is you're not waiting until you're being triggered. You're literally using your conscious brain to go in, pull it out. You're sending the signal of acknowledgement to your brain, and then down through your arm to that pen or pencil. That's you accepting that it's happened. It's now out of your head. Okay? The next load is people that have passed over. So people we've lost, friends, family, if you're into stars, so that if people were upset when Michael Jackson passed, that type of thing, if these people write these people's names down, they're not holding on to the thought of them going. They've acknowledged it, they know that they're doing it, they've accepted it, they've written it on that piece of paper. The last thing is traumatic experiences. Now, the traumatic experiences can be anything to physical, mental abuse. It can be anything to do with, anything to do with something that you've seen. You might have seen somebody being violently attacked out in the street or stabbed or something, seen a car accident, these type of things. If you can't remember the person's name that was in it, you just write something that signifies that situation down. Now, once this is all on a piece of paper, it's the first time in your life, unless you've listened to me before, it's the first time in your life that you've ever done this. So what you're doing is you're taking it out of your unconscious brain, you're taking the triggers away, right? You're acknowledging what the triggers are and the things that have happened. You're writing them down so you're accepting them. Then what I ask people to do is fold this piece of paper over and over and over and over again till you can't fold it anymore. Now, once that's done, these names are stuck. And that's you, you're going, it's fine, you're not coming back to get me. So again, your conscious is telling your unconscious, these people can't get out. You walk over to the sink, kitchen, bathroom, whatever. You turn the cold water on and you run the piece of paper underneath the water. You close your eyes and you imagine every single person's name coming off this piece of paper and running down the sink hole, right? Just going away out your life. You take the piece of wet paper, you take the bottom drawer out the freezer and you put the piece of paper in the freezer. Now you're that's right. Now, if I was to give you something frozen, is it going to move?
No.
Right. If I was to open the freezer and it was frozen, can it jump out and get you?
No.
No. So what your conscious brain has told your unconscious brain is, I've accepted it, I've acknowledged it, I've accepted it, I've washed away the ties to this situation, and now I'm freezing it out of my life. Now, it might be instant, it might take a few days for that to settle in. Now, what happens is when we have a trigger and the trigger then leaves from being a trigger, it becomes a what? A memory, right? That's the point where we don't get triggered and we can learn from experience. That's the difference between a trigger and a memory. A trigger we ignore or we don't accept properly, and a memory we can understand it from both perspectives, or at least how we can move on from it. So what you're doing is you're clearing your triggers. When your triggers are cleared, imagine you went through 30 years of your life and you had a trigger every week, and you had all those weeks of your life, and some days you get 5 triggers in a day with the music you're listening to, or the names that you're saying, or the job that you're doing, or the smell that you're smelling, and you don't understand why you're upset or you're angry. By going in here and acknowledging these things and going through the process that I just spoke about, will actually empty your head. Okay? Now, while we're on the subject of writing things down, the man's brain and the woman's brain are 2 totally different things, right? Men have got a 1 thought process, women have got a 5 thought process. Okay? Now, I get into trouble on Instagram because there was a few people that believes that I was being soft when I said that the female brain is far more developed and they are much more, they're much better created beings, shall we say, than the male, right? So they can, if they're lucky enough, they can create life inside them. They've got a 5 thought process, which means they can multitask and concentrate on it. They can do so many things at the one time and they can concentrate, which is amazing. Now, women aren't taught this about their brains. Women are taught that, yeah, you can do all these things and that's it. They're not taught that they're actually amazing and that all the stuff that they're able to do with their brain, but they need to be able to focus on one thing at a time. So, and in the analogy that I put, you hear kind of misogynistic men saying, daft women drivers. Women are the worst drivers. Now, in reality, it would be easier for a woman to be in an accident in a car than it would be a man. And I'm going to explain why before anyone thinks I'm being sexist, because I'm on the women's side here, right? If you were a man and I was a woman, and we had to reverse these two cars from this space into spaces behind us, okay? Men have got the one thought process, all they're thinking about is getting this car into that space, right? Women have to get this car into that space. So they check the mirror and they go, oh, my eyebrows are off. Oh, my hair's a mess. Oh, I can't believe what they said on EastEnders last night. Oh, my God, and I've got to go home and my other half's going to be mad at me. And right? So where's the concentration? The concentration's not there. And this is why I always try and help women with the meditation and to come down with their breathing into this kind of conscious state, because it literally allows them to focus on one thing at a time. Now, if you can imagine a woman being able to focus on one thing at a time and understanding that she's still got these 4 other compartments that, if need be, that she can use, that is one powerful human being, right? That is one powerful human being. As long as you've got a decent person with that understanding, you have got a marvel. You've got a superhero right there, right? But men, we concentrate on one thing. Something throws us off. We lose our place. You know, if we're reading a book and somebody says something, you're like, you put me off. That's the first thing we say, right? Really, because we can only think about one thing at a time. And the other thing I want to talk about is going into, we're going to go into the sexual side of things between men and women, right? Because this is very, very, very important that people understand that. Now, I'm going to say things that might trigger some people, so please just don't allow it to, right? If a man and a woman are in bed together, excuse me, 99.9% of the time, the man knows what he's there to do. He's there to get in, do his business and get out. That's what they do, okay? Unless they feel kind, right? And they want to pleasure, right? But 99% of the time, they're just going in to get in and get out. And then the woman goes, that was too quick. I didn't get anything out of that, right? But what's actually happened is it's nothing to do with the man's capabilities, okay? It's women that are not trained to allow their brain to come into one thought process. So you hear women say, I can do that when I do it myself. All they're thinking about is doing it, right? If they've got a man there, is my hair sitting all right? Have I got smelly armpits? Did I brush my teeth? Have I still got those seeds stuck in it? Do you know what I mean? Thinking about the stress of work, thinking about the family. They've got all this going on in their head, and then they wonder why it's more difficult for them to do it. It's not because they're not able to, or because the person's not doing wrong. It's just because their energies are different and their brains work physically differently. So I had this conversation. I had 2 girls in the other night, and we were talking. I told them the same scenario. One of them says, I get that. And the other one says, absolutely no way. I can't go as quick as a man, blah, 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 blah. And that's fine, and I get it, and we're all entitled to our own beliefs. But scientifically in the brain, not the behaviour, but the actual brain itself, it's 100% fact, and it can't be gone against. If people are in flow and they concentrate on one thing, do you know what I mean? And you go in, again, going back to these couples that the attraction is not there anymore. You know, they're just in the relationship for the sake of being there. When they're trying to do it and they're not enjoying it anymore, it's because their mind's somewhere else, right? I've heard many guys over the time saying, oh, I think of somebody else, and the women going, oh, I'm thinking of somebody else as well, and I just let them go. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible because they're putting themselves through these things and enduring something that's not enjoyable, giving a big part of themselves away just to fulfill some sort of need that's not fulfilling them. So if they were happy and they were flowing and they had their self down to one, but also understanding the other person in that way to consider them, they would find that spark, no, regardless of how long it's been or how long they've been together, that spark would literally come back if they were more in control. And I don't mean especially women, but women, if they understood their thoughts and how to focus on one thing at a time, would be able to come back to this. It would allow their sex life to become much better. So I mean, there's so many things that I can talk about. In work, right? We'll talk about work quickly. If you're in a job that you don't like, right? Anybody that's watching, if you're in a job that you don't like and you think going there just for the sake of money is going to make you happy, it's not, because every day you're losing energy. And it'll get to the point where you'll either flip out and do your manager in, or you will leave and you'll have no money, right? So if you find out your uniqueness and what you can do for yourself, this means that you can get a job that will fit you better. So say that you are administrator teacher, and what you are is you're wanting to be a counsellor, for talking sake. A counsellor, in my belief, should want to feel somebody and then serve them in a way where they feel safe and they understood. A teacher just wants to teach all the time. It's not the right. So if people with their jobs are able to find out their uniqueness, it will definitely make their life better as well. And again, I'm more than happy to kind of come back on at other times, because there's loads of stuff that we can talk about, and talking about how you can kind of manage your own life with different things. But I think there should be enough food for thought for tonight, to allow people to go away and start to just even open their minds. If they don't believe me or they don't understand me, that is all fine. It's allowing themselves to open up to different possibilities. Everybody's capable of happiness. Everybody, but it starts from within. It doesn't start from anything without. No person, no job, no money, no physical attraction, no physical anything. Nothing's going to make you happy apart from you. So it's getting back to realising where you've done wrong, the bad choices that have led you to something happening that has hurt you. It's also about taking that step into understanding your uniqueness and understanding the people that are closest to you as well, to give you more confidence on being the person that you want to, that you are. Not the one that you want people to see, but the one that you are. Once you gain confidence in that, there's nobody that's going to break you down or hurt you, because you'll be physically and mentally strong enough to go on and make great changes in your life.
Outstanding, mate. Outstanding. What a night.
Thanks, mate.
Night, Colin.
Yes, I'm enjoying myself.
Yes. Mate, much appreciated for you coming on, man.
Anytime, man, anytime. And I would love to come back on another time if you get space me in the future. I know you're busy with people, but again, if you get space in the future, we can come on and we can actually start to help people with their uniqueness. We might even be able to do some sort of kind of live thing and get people to tell us about their intangible. We could do loads of things.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it 100%. I'm going to share your Instagram again. So for anybody wanting to connect with Colin, here's his Instagram. It's the same, exactly the same Facebook as well, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, it sure is.
Exactly the same Facebook. Just want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. Thanks for your comments. And we are you going to share the 6 questions?
Yes, I'm going to share it on my page, and I'm also going to send it to you for sharing on your page. So that, and what I'll do is I'll put instructions on it so people understand how to do it.
Could you do that tonight? Because I want to do it tonight.
Yeah. And what I'll do is I will put once you find out your uniqueness, your why and your how. Your why is who people see you being. Your how is how you kind of do it yourself, So once people are able to understand that, they will be able to go onto the YouTube channel. So it's not a podcast, it's just information videos that help people understand their uniqueness. So I'm not cutting your grass, right? So what it is John and I just do talks every week, and it's allow people to have better mental health. So if people are having problems with racism, it's a massive thing. John and I have got 3 videos on racism that show where the flaws are in the system, not in the actual people, but the system. And we talk about the brain and how to understand it better. We also talk about conflict and happiness and depression and lots of different things. But once you get your uniqueness on the answers, you can go onto that YouTube channel, and what you can do is look for the videos that so your why and your how, and match it up and take them. If anyone's really struggling and they can't find them, it's quite clear to set out. But if anyone's struggling or they're not able to read as good as what they feel, reach out and I'll send you the videos. Okay,
yep.
As soon as I can. My phone's quite busy as it is, but I will genuinely get back to round it. But I'll do it. In fact, you know what? I'll do it as soon as we get off this. I'll put it on my page and I'll put it on your page as well. I'll send it over to you.
Brilliant, mate. And here we've got to give a shout out. Actually, make sure that you're following his Facebook page, because he does live readings as well, which has been banging.
But people don't understand that I can have you sitting there, just your name flash up, and I will snap into that energy and I will give you a 3-card reading to give you a message. Not one person's come back to me to say that I'm wrong. I'm not saying that I never will be. I'll happily take it that I'm wrong. Not every footballer scores a goal every game, you know what I mean? But as of yet, I've not been told that I've done wrong. So if I'm able to do that and I'm able to do a live, come on to my lives. And if the messages are for you or for anybody, I'm happy to put those messages out, you know, because it's good fun. And I don't, as I say, I'm not about the money. What I'm about is about helping folks. So that's why I'll spend an hour, 2 hours of my time on lives to allow them to come on. And Cash Can, the boy we spoke about earlier, he's allowed me to go on and do live readings on his page as well, on Educate, Inspire, Change, which is
3.5 million people.
3.5 million people. So sometimes I might end up with 2,000 people asking me for readings, and it's difficult to do. So it's just the ones that pop out. So if I'm not doing it and I don't get you on my page, you can go over to Educate, Inspire, Change, and I can do it there, and it'll be perfect.
And what about if people want to contact you themselves to get their own?
Oh, they can just send me a message, man. They can just send a message to the page, Instagram or Facebook, and we can talk and we can book people in. Because it's life-changing stuff. It's not going to tell you that you've lost your house keys down the side of the couch 4 years ago. Right? It's not going to tell you that Auntie Bessie's floating about behind you and she says that you've got a nice fucking beard, right? This is not the way we work. If you want to come and work with me, be prepared for triggers. Be prepared for your unconscious coming out and me telling you what you're doing right and wrong in your life and how you can grow from it. And this is why what I do is a pure job. I'm not claiming to be psychic, whether it's psychic or not. I'm not claiming to be a label. I'm just a guy that's been here to help folk, and that's what I want to do in my life.
Brilliant. Do you know what? I think what would be great for anybody who's watching and are interested, jump off, because they've stayed, they're listening to it, they're watching it, jump onto the Facebook now. You didn't need to jump onto the live because there's previous ones that have been done and you'll be able to get an insight into what Colin does himself. Mate, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yes.
Thanks very much for everybody tuning in. Have a good one through it. Catch you.